Hello everyone, welcome to Illuminating Astrology. In this video, I would like to look at the month of November and share with you both the results and the process of choosing the good and difficult electional days. When I say good and difficult days, I mean for the mundane activities. If you're planning a job interview, maybe you are planning a surgery, you're planning an important conversation or purchase, the astrology provides a list and times which are most auspicious for that. The more difficult, so-called difficult days, such as, for example, traditionally the new moon or the full moon, may be very important for spiritual practices, for going within, but I'm going to focus more from the mundane point of view. And for the sake of the brevity of this video, I will focus on the most intense days, the positive and the negative. Also, this month we have important astrological events. Mercury is going to go retrograde, Jupiter is going to go retrograde, and Saturn is going to go direct. So I'll mention that as we go through. So let's start looking at the month of November. I cast my chart for Los Angeles, California. So for the West Coast, these will be the right times. If you are on the East Coast, or if you're in Asia or Europe, the timing alters a little bit, but usually the moon stays the same in every different country. However, if you're electing something for your location, make sure the moon is in the right sign and she's not in a difficult aspect with the malefics. So let's start with November 1st. I feel that beginning in the month sets a theme. November is a full month, and we currently have a lot of planets on water. So the emphasis continues to be on emotional states, on internal states, on connection with other people or lack of connection with other people. And as we grieve certain losses, which Saturn in Pisces suggests, we also should maintain or can maintain hope, as Jupiter in Cancer suggests. So the first day starts with a lot of water energy, and it may indicate weather-wise a lot of rain or even snow in some areas. But on a more personal, interpersonal level, it is about connecting with others, connecting with oneself. But from the mundane point of view, November 1st is a difficult day. It is the day when the moon is conjunct Saturn. So avoid it for anything where you want things in your favor, especially dealing with bureaucracies or various applications. Medical procedures are not favored, and so on. It may be a decent day to do therapy work, to do spiritual work, because it suggests, the moon Saturn suggests certain emotions are hidden or repressed within ourselves, and we might need to release them. But from the mundane point of view, it is a difficult day, so avoid it for anything that you want successful and in your favor. Going to November 2nd, the moon moves to Aries, and it's okay day, not amazing, not bad. The moon is trining Mercury that day, so it might be good for communication and travels and various activities which require initiative, energy, and action. So day is not bad, not amazing, but not bad. November 3rd, the moon is in opposition with Venus, which is a soft aspect, all square Jupiter. Again, it's a mediocre day, but might be still okay for interactions with other people or relationship matters, but mediocre. So let's move on to something more dramatic. On November 4th, the moon is moving to Taurus. Normally, that's a positive time, especially with the moon being dispositor of Jupiter in Cancer. It's a positive energy. However, on November 4th and November 5th, the moon is opposing the sun. It's a full moon. Like I said, that's a time of disbalance. It is not favorable time to purchase, to do job interviews, to do surgeries, because the masculine and feminine, the sun and the moon, the soul and the spirit, they are in oppositional forces. This is a good time spiritually, but it is not a favorable time for mundane affairs. So avoid it from that point of view. November 6th, the moon moves to Gemini, and she's conjoined Uranus and in opposition with Mars and Mercury. That's decidedly a challenging energy, again, from the mundane point of view. While it gives a lot of movement, it may bring various accidents, speeding on the road, conflicts. Moon-Mars opposition especially is relevant to conflicts. And because when the moon is an Aries sign, she's focused on the social affairs, so blurting out words that we later regret or hearing the words that are offensive, Mercury, Mars, might be the order of the day. So avoid it for any important social activities, and same for medical, and also don't start travel on that day if possible. November 7th, the moon moves to further in Gemini, and she is now squaring Saturn and Neptune, also a difficult energy. Again, misunderstanding, emotional challenges. If you are seeking something in your favor, like a loan from the bank, or maybe you want to purchase, this is not a favorable day. Avoid November 7th from that point of view. November 8th, the moon moves to Cancer, a much nicer energy. And we have 2 days, November 8th and November 9th, when the moon is in trine with the sun, which is always a positive configuration in traditional astrology. There's a harmony between emotions and our actions, spirit and the matter, conscious and unconscious. And the emphasis with water is on emotional connection with other people, family matters. If you want to mend something, if you want to go for a job interview, if you want to connect with a long lost friend, these are good times and days. Yes, the moon is going to be trining Venus in Scorpio that day, and she's going to be eventually trining Saturn in Pisces. So it's not a perfect day, but quite decent from the point of view of mundane activity, especially related to relationships and connection with other people. And you may notice that Mercury is stationary to go retrograde within a day or two. So especially November 8th and November 9th, maybe delays in communication, things slow down, letters, parcels, purchases may be delayed, slowed down, or even lost. This is a difficult position for Mercury. And Mercury enters its retrograde period on November 10th, which usually lasts about 3 weeks. So Mercury retrogrades are common, and they do cause technical breakups, slow down, miscommunications. We live through them. But if you're electing something important, for example, maybe you are writing a book or you're going for an interview or having a surgery, try to avoid Mercury retrograde representing you. So it shouldn't be on the ascendant. But in general, because we cannot avoid it, it's not a bad day because the moon has just separated from Jupiter and she's moving forward to Venus and to the sun. November 11th, the moon is square the sun, so it's a little challenging day. November 12th is similar energy. November 13th, she's moving to Virgo, and at that time, she's sextiling Venus and the sun, and she's sextiling Jupiter, and that's usually a positive energy. Again, when the moon and the sun in harmonious connection, things flow. So generally positive day for various technical activities, activities related to practical matters. However, I will go back for 1 second. Jupiter also went retrograde. It was stationary on the 10th and the 11th of November, and it is retrograde as of November 12th. So Jupiter is going to be in Cancer for a while, and that's really wonderful for the world because Jupiter not only is a planet associated with wealth and hope and benefits and trust, and so when it is direct, its energy, its power is the strongest. And I believe it was saving us from much worse conditions. It actually brought some peace negotiations and things like this. But when Jupiter goes retrograde, it is diminished according to traditional classical astrological position. Its energy is diminished. So while the benefits of Jupiter are a little less, it is a time to maybe review the faith, the trust, redo some financial decisions. Perhaps people who are trying to get pregnant, they might intensify their efforts. But overall, it's a time of slowing down of Jupiter, and it's a little less favorable. And it's going to stay in retrograde period until March. I'll put in the comments the full timing. But let's move on. So November 13th and 14th moon remains in Virgo. It's not a bad time, but November 14th, she is in opposition with Saturn. So avoid for dealing with bureaucracies, avoid for resolving technical matters, especially with Saturn. If you want to receive some kind of papers or important information, it's not a favorable time. November 15th, she moves to Libra. And she is at the time sextile Mars, which is okay. She's also November 16th, she's also going to square Jupiter. She is not having any other difficult aspects, so it's an okay day. November 17th, she's moving to Scorpio. A moon in Scorpio is a difficult position. As she goes to Scorpio, she's also approaching Venus and the new moon. So the new moon occurs on November 18th. November 18th, 19th is the new moon in Scorpio. This is a difficult time from the point of view of traditional electional astrology. So avoid from any mundane point of view, but it is good spiritually So dealing with emotions, dealing therapeutically is good, but not good for mundane affairs. November 20th, the moon goes to Sagittarius, but she's still under the beams and she is with Mars. So it's a difficult day. Avoid for travels, avoid being impatient, and avoid hurting oneself. For example, in sports, it's not favorable for any kind of procedures. However, that might be an energizing time. We have a lot of energy and a lot of new things can be accomplished. November 21st, she is still with Mars. It's a difficult day. November 22nd, she's moving to Capricorn. And when she moves to Capricorn, she does sextile Venus in Scorpio and she is sextiling Saturn. So it's not an easy day, but it might be good for practical matters, something serious, like if you're making plans, if you're creating financial plans for the future, it's not a bad energy. The 24th, she's still in Capricorn, and that's an okay day. On the 25th, she moves to Aquarius. She's with Pluto, so there's an intensification of the lunar energy, but she is sextiling the Sun and she's sextiling Mars, so that's not a bad day, especially in the social sphere, if we can avoid being too fixated and too intense. November 26th, she is in Aquarius again, and it's a mediocre day, but not bad. November 27th, she goes to Pisces, which is okay, though she is squaring the Sun. So it's not an amazingly positive day, but not too bad. But November 28th, she makes the full circle and she comes back to a conjunction of Saturn and square of Mars. So that's again a difficult day where we might feel both encountering challenges, difficulties, and yet feeling impatience or being irritated. So avoid any social interactions that are important. Medical procedures, job interviews, that's not favorable. And finally, November 29th, she's with Saturn, still same energy remains. But by the 30th, she's moving to Aries, and that's trining the Mars and the Sun. So a new cycle begins, new activities. So it's a decent day. So that's the month of November. And I will list in the comments below all of the dates, good and bad. There are a few good days, there are a few challenging days. Overall, there's a lot of emphasis on water element in this month. Let me know in the comments, please, if you're using electional days, my electional days, or in general, and what you think about them. Do they help you? Also, I very much appreciate the support of my young growing channel. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Thank you very much.